Hello, friends. This is the Cursed Storyteller. Today, I will share with you 3 real and terrifying stories that happened to ordinary people, and I will tell them as if they happened to me personally, so you can feel as if you are experiencing the events with me, moment by moment. Each story has its strange and intriguing details, and together we'll discover what happened and how things ended in ways you wouldn't expect. Before we dive into the first story, I kindly ask you to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any new stories from the Cursed Storyteller. And stay with me on every mysterious and exciting journey. Get ready to dive with me into this journey where we'll explore 3 real and mysterious events, uncovering the secrets hidden behind every moment and every strange incident that happened to ordinary people. Story 1.
Most people believe the night is empty, that once the sun goes down, all you'll find outside are shadows and silence. But I learned long ago that the darkness is never truly empty. Something waits there, watching. When I was a child, I lived in a quiet little town called Hollow Creek. Life there was simple. People left their doors unlocked, children played in the streets, and everyone trusted their neighbors. Right across from us lived the Price family, Mr. and Mrs. Price, and their youngest son, Daniel. I wasn't close to Daniel. He was quiet, almost withdrawn, the kind of kid who never laughed at jokes or joined in games. I played more with his older brother. Daniel seemed different, like something weighed him down. But back then, I didn't care. I had my own fears to battle. You see, my mother often sent me to the little market at night. It was just down the road, but to get there, I had to walk a lonely stretch lined with old trees. There were no houses, no street lights, just blackness on both sides. By day, it looked harmless. At night, it became something else entirely. I remember one night clearly. I was 9 years old. My arms were full of groceries, and the world around me had fallen into that strange hush. No crickets, no wind, nothing, just silence. That was when I saw it. It clung to the branches high above me, limbs stretched out like a spider. Its skin was pale, wet-looking, almost rotting. Its body was impossibly thin, yet its claws dug deep into the wood as though it could rip the whole tree down if it wanted to. And its face, God, its face wasn't human. Hollow sockets glowed with burning red light. I froze. My brain screamed at me to run, but my legs locked. Then came the sound, long claws scratching bark as it started to crawl downward, slow, deliberate, savoring my fear. When it moved, its bones cracked like old wood. A hiss escaped its throat, dry and sharp, like snakes in the grass. That broke me. I dropped the groceries and ran. I could hear it, not just following, chasing. Branches snapped behind me. Heavy thuds shook the dirt road. I swear I felt its breath brush the back of my neck. My lungs burned, tears blurred my eyes, but somehow I made it home. I slammed the door behind me, gasping. My mother scolded me for dropping the groceries. She didn't believe a word about what I saw. But there was one thing she couldn't ignore. The back of my shirt was torn open. 4 long, jagged slashes ripped through the fabric. She said it must have been a branch. But I knew the truth. For weeks I had nightmares. I'd wake to scratching sounds outside my window. Sometimes when I dared to peek through the glass, I'd see glowing red dots in the trees, watching, waiting. Years passed. I told myself it was imagination. Kids scare themselves all the time, right? Eventually, I avoided that road altogether. I grew older, and the memory faded until 3 nights ago. Daniel Price disappeared.
At first, people thought he ran away, but the next morning, his body was found hanging in the trees along that same road, his flesh torn, bones shattered, as though something had played with him before finishing the job. The police blamed wild animals, a bear maybe, or wolves, but I knew better. I recognized the claw marks, the same kind that had torn my shirt. It was back. The whole town panicked. They cut down trees, installed bright new lights along the road. They thought human solutions could stop something inhuman. But creatures like that don't die. They don't vanish. They wait. I started digging into old town records, desperate to understand what I had seen, and I found something.
Over 100 years ago, settlers in Hollow Creek spoke of the Watcher, a creature said to crawl from the forest at night, feeding on livestock and sometimes children. People claimed it was neither man nor beast, but something caught between. The last written account was from 1912, when a boy vanished and was later found in pieces along the riverbank. The descriptions matched perfectly. Glowing eyes, unnatural limbs, claws sharp enough to slice through bone. I wasn't the first to see it, and Daniel wasn't the first to die. Now, every night, I hear it again, scratching across my roof, clicking claws against my window. I've stopped sleeping. Sometimes I swear I hear my name whispered in the dark, drawn out, mocking. I tried to warn people, but they laughed, just like my mother did. They don't laugh anymore, though. 2 more children went missing last night. They'll find what's left of them soon. The Watcher doesn't stop. It doesn't forgive. It remembers, and it's patient. Tonight, as I write this, I can feel it outside. The red glow is back, floating between the trees, watching me, waiting for me to make the mistake of stepping into the dark. But I know better now. So, if you ever find yourself walking down a quiet, empty road with no lights, and the night suddenly grows too quiet, don't look up, don't slow down, and whatever you do, don't let it see your fear. Because once it sees you, once those burning red eyes lock on to you, it never lets go. Story 2. When I was 13 years old, I had a best friend named Lena. After school, we always went to her house to hang out. She lived in a large house on the outskirts of the city. One day, Lena didn't show up for school. She was absent for the next few days, and I began wondering if something was wrong with her. After she had missed a whole week of school, I decided to visit her. I took my bike and rode all the way across the city, arriving at her house just as the sun was setting. When I rang the doorbell, I was shocked when the door opened almost immediately. Lena's mother was standing there, but there was something odd about her. Her eyes looked darker than usual, and her hair hung loose over her shoulders. She was wearing a pale nightgown. The most unsettling thing was the strange grin on her face.
She didn't say a word. She just stared at me with that creepy smile. "Is Lena here?" I asked nervously. She motioned for me to come in. Before I could say anything, she slipped back into the dark hallway. As I stepped inside, my eyes strained to adjust to the dim light. but I couldn't see where she had gone. Suddenly, I heard a low humming sound coming from the kitchen. I followed the sound and found her standing at the kitchen sink with her back turned to me. The moment I entered, she stopped humming. Silence. I sat at the kitchen table, waiting. She didn't move. For several minutes, she stayed exactly the same, her back to me, her hands limp at her sides, head tilted slightly. Something was wrong. I stood up slowly and moved around her to see her face. The sight still haunts me. Her eyes were wide open and she still had that terrible grin on her face. I panicked and bolted from the kitchen, ran out of the house, jumped on my bike, and sped all the way home without stopping. A few days later, I found out why Lena had been absent from school. My parents told me there had been a tragedy in Lena's family. What happened? Who died? They broke the news to me. It was Lena's mother who had died, suddenly. The night I went to their house, Lena had been at her grandparents' attending the funeral.
Years later, when I was 17 years old, I earned extra money by babysitting on weekends. One evening, a friend called to say she knew a family desperate for a babysitter. She was busy and asked if I wanted to take the job. She told me the parents were kind, the pay was good, and their 3-year-old daughter was sweet and well-behaved. I agreed. That evening, I went to the family's home. The mother's name was Maya. She was getting ready to go out for the night. Her husband was away on business. She left me emergency numbers and then left. The night was easy. I made dinner for the little girl, gave her a bath, and tucked her into bed. Around midnight, I heard the front door open and footsteps in the hallway. I hadn't heard a car pull up. Turning around, I was startled to see Maya coming into the living room.
She didn't say a word. As she passed me, I noticed something different about her. Her eyes looked strange, and she was grinning widely. A cold chill ran down my spine. I knew that grin. I had seen it before. Maya sat at the dining table with her back to me. Her hands hung limp at her sides. Her head cocked slightly. She was humming softly. "Maya?" I asked nervously. "Are you all right?" No answer. "Maya, you're not alive anymore, are you?" Silence. Shaking, I grabbed my bag and backed toward the hallway. There was no car in the driveway. Suddenly, the phone rang, breaking the silence. I didn't want to answer it, but I did. It was the police. They told me Maya had been in a fatal car accident about an hour earlier. Tears blurred my eyes as I ran upstairs, scooped up the little girl, wrapped her in a blanket, and hurried downstairs. As I passed the living room door, I could still see Maya sitting there with her back to me. Without stopping, I ran out into the night, clutching the child in my arms.
Story 3.
One night, I was awakened by a chilling scream that echoed through the silence. It seemed to be coming from the house next door. I jumped out of bed, threw on my robe, and ran downstairs. At my front gate, 2 small figures rushed toward me, nearly knocking me over. It was the children from the neighboring house, but their appearance stunned me. The boy was in his pajamas, the girl in her nightdress. Their faces were pale as ghosts, their eyes wide with terror. They clung to me, crying uncontrollably. Moments later, their mother, Clara, came running. Her expression was filled with fear. I asked, "What happened?" I heard screaming. "There's someone in our house," Clara gasped, her voice trembling. I heard noises in the kitchen, then footsteps on the stairs, and the door to my kids' room opening. Then my daughter screamed. I grabbed them and we ran out. I asked, "Did you see who it was?" "No," she whispered. I didn't dare to look. Please, call the police. I told her to take the children into my home and make the call. She thanked me and hurried away with them.
Left standing alone, I decided to check their house. The front door was wide open. The silence inside was suffocating. A shiver crawled down my spine. A voice inside my head warned me, it's a trap. Still, I forced myself forward. You're not a child anymore, I muttered. But suddenly, a light switched on in an upstairs room. The house should have been empty. Curtains fluttered in the night breeze. My heart thudded. Then the light went out. It flicked on again. This time I froze. At the window stood a figure, a woman. Her skin shriveled, her hair wild, her hollow eye sockets staring down at me. She smiled, a smile that belonged to the dead. Click. Darkness again.
I ran. Bursting into my house, I slammed the door until Clara let me in. My face must have been pale as chalk. Her children began crying again just looking at me. "Water," I gasped. "Please." Clara handed me a glass. I downed it, still trembling. "Did you call the police?" "They're coming," she said. "Did you check our house?" Let's wait for them," I replied, shaken. Minutes later, officers arrived. They searched every corner but found nothing. No intruder, no evidence. When they questioned me, I kept quiet. What could I say? That I saw a corpse smiling at me from the window?
By morning, Clara's husband returned from work. The children ran to him, relieved. The family went back into their house. I avoided looking at their windows. For weeks, life seemed to return to normal. No screams, no strange figures. Until one evening, a month later, there was a violent pounding on my door. Through the peephole, I saw Clara. I opened the door. She stood there, smiling eerily. Without a word, she walked past me into my living room. That smile, unnatural, fixed, it froze me. Then voices carried from the house next door. I glanced over the fence. Clara was outside, playing with her children. Cold dread seized me. If Clara is out there, then who just walked into my living room? I didn't wait to find out. I rushed next door and begged them to call the police. Officers searched my house again. Empty, of course. The only presence there was not among the living.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed these tales, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and join me to discover more dark stories that lurk in the shadows. Goodbye, and try to sleep peacefully if you can.